Welcome everyone to another Buzzslayers interview. Today we are here with Dom of The Transits, who I've been waiting to talk to for quite some time. Welcome, my friend.
Thank you so much. Great to be here. Like you say, after some incredible reviews over the past couple of years, it's actually really lovely to see a face to the words.
Absolutely, yes, no, and I appreciate that. And I've got a lot to talk to you about. I'll go as fast as I can. I put together a bunch of questions.
Right.
Well, let's start with Ghost of Summer because that's the new one. This was you guys always pump out these like killer tracks that you're kind of ever changing a little bit too. This is one of the things I love about the Transits, and I know I'm going to repeat some stuff that I may have put here and there in reviews, but you guys definitely progress. You evolve, as a band. You never put out a song that's like the same as the last release. It's like a little bit different. This track to me was super poppy. Like it was the pre-chorus was like super poppy, and then it bursts into like kind of a pop rock style chorus. Bright and fantastical, you know what I mean? Synths, guitars. And so Dom, so it's you and Ryan and Tyrone, right?
Yeah, so the three of us, Tyrone and myself, we live in New Zealand, in Auckland, and Ryan lives in Durban in South Africa, where all three of us are from. So that's the origins of the Transits actually started when we were all 15 years old, essentially, right? And somehow the universe has manifested a way that we can still be together today, but living in two different places. But just to comment on the things that you said about the track, I'm so glad you said all of those things, because as a band, we're three different people with three slightly different musical tastes. It's really important that we kind of mesh all our interests into one, and we don't want to be stale. We don't want to do the same thing over and over again. Yeah. So I love what you said. It's kind of like a singles game these days, where back in the day, you looked at an album as a full package. Yes, we do an album, and that's great, but it doesn't really matter. You don't have to stick in your lane 100%, I don't think, these days, and that's what makes it exciting for us.
Yeah, no, you definitely don't. And I think that you guys I feel like you guys create on the fly. Like you have. So let me ask you this. I got to jump into this because if you guys are in different places at the moment, how does it work with? So is it Ryan comes up with some stuff and then you and him, kind of work on it together, and then you send it to Tyrone, and Tyrone lays the drums down or something, or how does that work?
Yeah, so we operate through WhatsApp, which is ridiculous. And to be honest, we can only do it this way because of the fact that we spent so many years in an actual room together, in a band room together, right? So we have this chemistry that we know each other. But Ryan's our principal songwriter, so he will send us, a riff or an idea. The three of us will be going, oh yeah, that's cool. We could push into this direction, and we might. There's two ways we do it. Either Ryan goes, hey, this is what I'm thinking. This is a melody. These are kind of the parts, or it's the nugget of an idea, and then the challenge for all of us is to almost present to each other what each other were thinking without sharing ahead of time, right? So it's kind of like he might have a different melody to me, and it's kind of like, oh, okay, well, may the best melody win, and it's usually Ryan. It's just the way that we get to operate. I never thought it would be possible to be in two countries. It's obviously it's not the ideal situation, but also, hell, man, we can be a band in two countries. Hell yeah, that's great. It's only the technology in today that we can do this sort of thing, And
it's amazing how often I will speak to a band, and that's kind of the situation where it started in one way, and it always is the same thing, kind of what you said, where the chemistry began with the three of you doing it together. Otherwise, it wouldn't be as easy of a flux or flow going back and forth across different countries and throwing ideas. But what blows my mind, it doesn't matter, it just blows my mind how you can be so far apart and still create something that's got like this kind of energy to it, like you guys always manage to capture like a certain kind of energy on the songs. The Ghost of Summer is obviously no exception. And honestly, the self-titled record, the album, that's my favorite thing, just because for me, having listened to so much of your stuff, I was like, waiting for that. And then when the full length album finally dropped, it was like, yeah, dude, because I come from a time where you listen to albums, you know, and you know, you guys are like the kind of band where you want the album, you know, and it's like, there it is. And it was, right. And obviously Heartbreak Queen crushed it off that record. That was a huge track for you guys. You guys got tons of spins on that song.
Yeah, and that was a later entry just to touch on everything you said, because we started accidentally again in a way, right? Because none of us, well, I didn't think we could operate in this way. Tyron and I hadn't been playing music for some time. In the background in South Africa, Ryan had been honing his songwriting skills and engineering skills, and he'd been doing all of that stuff. And then I'd found some cassette recordings of a band room session when we were 15. And I was like, man, these cassettes, look at this. Like, first I need to find a way to play it, which I did eventually. and I was like, there's such great songs here that we never recorded. If only we had done that back in the day. And Ryan was like, well, we can. And shortcut up, we started to get some of the gear, and we recorded in our own little studios at home. And we're like, wow, that is great. What would we sound like today? Was the kind of question without actually really intending to be a band again. And we were so enthusiastic and we were so excited. The music just started coming. So that whole first album really is little nuggets that Ryan had, but also just us going, what are we going to sound like today? We all got different music tastes. And then Heartbreak Queen, to come back to that, really was the last song written for the album, which was great. And I think you often hear bands that go, oh, that song wasn't even on the album until 5 minutes before we had to sing. Right. And it was kind of one of those moments for us.
Let's talk about, thank you for that, first of all, because it's so interesting to know. I wanted to know how you guys started. That was my big thing.
And just to quickly add to it, when we started, it was really important to us that we were a very DIY band. Yeah. Because the fact that we're in two countries and we can't play live, which is a natural way to get fans, right? Yeah. It meant that we had to put out a lot of music and a lot of videos to capture attention. So, and of course, we can't rely on other people to do that. So for us, from the very beginning, it was like, well, Ryan will do the recording. So he's got a little place called Echo Lake Studios in Durban. And then we'll do the visual stuff. And so we try and do as much as we can ourselves just to keep control over what we do.
Well, that's another thing too, is that, you know, one of my other favorite things about you guys is that the videos that you put out, and it seems so constant. You know, of course, my number one thing is the Halloween song video release. That's always the best shit. Like you guys kind of keep outdoing yourself. Last year's was great. Year before that one was the whole Lost Boys one was like super. That was a crazy one. You guys put a lot of extra effort into like creating the videos, and that I feel, and now I know why, because you aren't like in a place where you can actually perform live shows, and so you rely on that, and you're doing it right because people want that. People are expecting, you're giving them a lot of juice. You know what I mean? You're like, all right, cool, yeah, give me the songs, give me the videos. That's something that's very attractive about it, is like there's always like, you know, like whenever I do like a review of you guys and there's a video, which is almost always, I'm like, watch the video first. You know, like this is like, if you haven't even heard any Transit stuff, then watch this video or watch that video first, you know, and then dive into the album. Because that's the way to do it. And Ghost of Summer was a crazy video. The girl out in the desert and all that stuff. Like, how does that work? Is that like pre-roll stuff, or did you go shoot that, or what is that?
No, we shot it all. And so like we even start thinking about the music video while we're still writing the song sometimes. because we get really excited about it, and because, like we said, it's a big vehicle for us. So, you know, Ghost of Summer is it's essentially about facing your past, your demons, your ghosts of things that have happened to you before. So it's about standing up for that. And we're like, what are we going to do for the video? And I'd been to this location that we shot at. It's incredible. It's out in New Zealand. It kind of looks like you're on Mars. And then, in fact, they've shot commercials there, because the sand crystallizes. It's like out of this world, really. And I was like, man, that would be a great place. So, and then we're like, well, what's going to be a really simple thing? We don't want to have too many people there. We're like, maybe we have one person playing two characters, right? Which was the challenge, because she wasn't actually twins, and there's two of her. Yeah, but it works. And so, yeah, we'll do the visual, we'll do the styling, and you know, and just try and make something that's cinematic, I suppose, that matches the track.
Well,
And it doesn't always have to be cinematic. Sometimes it can be a bit more lo-fi, like you mentioning the 80s skate one we did, which was supposed to feel like it was shot on a camcorder.
that was the aesthetic of it, though. It's supposed to be, it's Lost Boys based in the 80s, and that's the whole point. I mean, but that was the aesthetic you went for, and the whole VHS classic 80s aesthetic. So are you like a videographer or something? Is that?
No, I'm not. I think we're all we're all kind of very creative in what we do. But like, yeah, we've learned to edit. Like, I directed that one. You just kind of learn as you go. And I think what's great about this band is we've been a band in two very different eras, right? The 90s, where there was no internet, and it was like go and put flyers on cars and go and beg to play a show.
Good
and now
days.
it's like we don't play shows, and it's all about capturing people while they're on devices. So it becomes, and I think back in the day, you discovered music, you went to it was almost the visual of the album cover that would draw you in, right?
Oh yeah.
And you'd pick it up. And so we're trying to bring that, I guess, essence into a digital age where hopefully a visual will grab people's attention and pull them in.
I was going to ask you about that as well. As another one of my questions was about all your artwork that you guys do. You guys do all that yourselves too? Is that you that does that, or?
I do probably do most of it, but Ryan also jumps on the tools, and then Tyron gets on the tools. So it just depends. But again, we do it all ourselves.
So you started when you were 15 together, and then when did you separate? And what, like, how long were you separated before you found that tape and was like, oh hey, when was the comeback?
Yeah, so just take you back. So all three of us being from Durban in South Africa, it's like a little small harbor surf town on the east coast of South Africa, and this is like, just call it the mid-90s. Apartheid had ended. South Africa was very shut off from the rest of the world. We'd never seen any international acts. It was hard to get interesting music. If someone happened to go overseas and bring back a cassette or a CD of something that you liked, it was like, man, and everyone would share it because it was really hard to get.
Wow.
And so we were still at school, and it was hard to see bands, so we just kind of decided to pick up instruments ourselves, and just, if we couldn't see the bands we liked, maybe we could just play music that felt like we were
making it. Yeah.
In a way, you know? And then when we finished school, we were in bands together, but also separated in different things. And that was a really exciting time. There was actually a moment in the 90s. It was called the South African Music Explosion. And it's quite a moment, like a big piece of history, because there were no bands. If there were bands, there were cover bands. And suddenly all these original bands started to come out. So it was really right place at the right time, and a very exciting time to be a band. Anyway, early 2000s, for whatever reason, Tyron and I moved to New Zealand separately. I came here first, I believe, and then he moved here. It was the universe bringing us together. Ryan continued playing music, and then at some point started to just learn his craft of engineering and mastering and everything like that. And we've obviously always been friends, but we never thought we would talk. And as mentioned, just maybe 2.5 years ago, I found some cassette tapes, and suddenly we're a band more than ever. And I feel like because we're older, we're less like, oh, we need to go out and make this right now. I think that's where the craft comes in, is we can think about things more. And I think when we were younger, we were like, oh yeah, let's just write something and put it out immediately.
Yeah.
Without maybe not necessarily quality control, but without like an extra layer of depth to it. So it's cool, man. It's exciting.
Another thing I wanted to ask you, and I know you're limited on time, but I wanted to ask you this because it's really important. This is something that I would probably ask, a lot of interviews or whatever. And it's a hard one. And maybe you can even answer for Tyrone or Ryan, but if I were to ask you, Dom, first of all,
yes.
You do like backup vocals, and you play bass in the band. That's your main thing. So, and I see your stuff back there. I see your bass, and I see it looks like an Epiphone or something. What is that, a Fender?
That's a Fender. Yeah.
What kind of bass is that?
Recording mic. That particular bass is actually my shooting bass, because as you would have seen in the Heartbreak Queen video, things get pretty damaged.
Yeah.
So that's actually it's a real bass, but it's not one that I track with. That is one for shoots, basically, so that we can drop it and throw it and things can fall in it. So It's been spray painted many times. It's great. It's looks completely different when I got it.
You should, when you're dead and gone, you should make sure someone buries you with that bass. Straight up. All right. So here's the question. Sorry, I was like noticing the stuff. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
Good.
Yeah, I see the recording mic back there and everything. The poem. It looks like I don't know what that is. Maybe a KSM 27 or something like that.
Yeah. This is where it all happens on my end, really.
Yeah. It's so cool that you guys do all your parts separately and then send them off. And it's like, and like when you guys are done doing your thing, I mean, you of course you have a great idea of it, but is it like nuts when he sends it back? It's like, here it is. And it's like, boom. Does he send you pre-mixes or is it just like,
yeah,
boom?
no, we do. There'll be more often than not, there'll be pre-mixes or because sometimes we'll go, oh yeah, that's great, but maybe we need to try something different now. And it's still a collaborative process. But when we do get that initial polished version, it's always like, wow, that's great. Because I'm like, wow, Tyron, that sounds incredible. I hadn't heard what you were doing really until now. So it's always a bit of a surprise and it's quite exciting to share the parts with each other, you know?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like when you guys all get the product back, except for Ryan's finishing it off, so he knows. But like when he sends it to you and Tyrone, you guys are probably like, "Oh shit, yes!" Like
Yes.
It's how fun is like a present. It's like, all right, it's done. Here it is.
Yeah,
you know,
it really
it's so
is
cool. And it also speaks to for just the state of mind that you guys are in for your in terms of your creativity and staying a band and doing this for the love of doing it. Like you're not out to make, you're not out to go on tour. It's a different thing. It's a different time. It's a different situation. So it's like you're doing it for the passion and the love of fucking doing it. That's so important for other people to understand. And it's also important for other artists and bands out there to really understand, like, you, even if you're playing live shows, okay, if you're a band and you're watching this right now, you're playing live shows, look at what these guys are doing, because if you were to play live shows and also put out this much content and visuals and videos and things like that, if you put that much effort in, I know it's not easy, but and that's why you said, people ask us all the time, do you guys have lives? Yeah, we have busy lives, but we still make the time somehow to make this work. That's what it takes. It's not really, I don't want to call it prioritizing, but it's more like you have to have the time to put into the things that you love doing, and what you're doing is you're leaving all this great stuff behind, and it's kind of a beautiful thing. But I digress. So what I wanted to ask you was, if I were to ask you, Dom, in particular, what your top 5 musical influences would be. I know, Tuffy. You don't have to do all 5, or you could do more if you want, but what do you think that you would say, just in terms of like, you guys were growing up together, you guys picked up instruments, there wasn't a lot of outside music around when you were 15, but then after you moved and after things changed, the music explosion, everything changed, all in all, up to now, like, what do you think that your top 5 musical influences, what drove that?
Wow. Okay. It's a great question.
It's not easy.
It's I mean, and I'll give you 5, but it's certainly more than 5.
Yeah. Of course.
I mean, it's like, I don't believe when people say, what's your favorite album? Because how can you have one favorite album? I feel like it's impossible, right?
It is.
So, okay. So top 5 for me, so not answering for everyone else. So the Pixies is a band that was probably the most influential for me to want to get into music. Because when I was young, I had seen the skateboarder doing these cool, and I was like, where's this guy from? And this is in South Africa, and he was an American guy that was visiting family, and he had brought some cassettes, and we made friends because I skated, he skated, he was a little bit older, and he left me some cassette tapes of the Pixies, and my mind was blown.
He left them for you?
He left them, they were not originals. He had recorded, he brought some cassette tapes, and we became friends. He was going back to the States. He left them to me, and I was blown away. Pixies
is an unbelievable influential band. That's a great one.
Okay. Then I would say, so early Weezer. Yes. So Blue Album, Pinkerton.
Yes.
And I like other stuff from them, but that, to us, because this is mid-90s, and you'd gone from kind of hair metal to grunge to suddenly this kind of Green Day, Dookie, Weezer Blue Album era, mid-90s, call it.
Mhm.
And it was so different. It was so melodic. It wasn't too dressed up, over the top. Loved it, and that was a huge draw for us, the three of us, right? So yeah, Weezer. This one might feel left field. Depeche Mode.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
excellent.
love it. And look, we obviously got a lot of synths in this band, and it's an incredible act, especially around Violator era.
Yeah.
Okay. I need to do. I've got a fifth one. The fourth one, I'm trying to bridge the gap. That's a slightly difficult one. Like I like a lot of heavy stuff as well. But okay, I'm going to give you a very new one. There's an American artist called Petey, Petey. You should check him out. Fantastic. Like he's been touring a bit with Blink, but he's not at all in the Blink. He's a song. It's really fresh. Check it out. I urge you. I actually flew to Melbourne recently to see him because he wasn't coming to New Zealand. Outstanding. Really fresh take on alternative music. And then the last one, I feel like I would have to say Blink 182. It obviously a big influence of the band, but like I said, that's not a general comment. We've all got very different musical styles. Tyron would probably give you different answers. Ron would give you different answers, and I think that's what's cool about us is we all actually have some similar interests, but also some different bands that we're into.
Yeah. All right. So the new record is there's no plan yet because you guys are still recording some. Tyron's still laying some drum tracks down, but you are working on a new record. You're ready. Gave away that you got this video shot for some of the songs. And you guys normally roll out a few singles before, at least a few singles before an album that will be on the record. And so is Ghosts of Summer going to be on this album, or is that separate?
No, it is. It's the first single off the album, and we're releasing a song a month until September. So next month there'll be a new song. The following month there'll be a new song, and a couple of those are kind of spiked with the bigger videos.
Right.
And then the album, maybe around September, October. And the album will have songs that have not come out yet. Like you say, we like to drop a bunch of singles and then keep some stuff for the album. So hopefully you're into some of the new material, but we can't wait to get it out.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I remember you guys dropped Heartbreak Queen before there was like 3 or 4 singles before the self-titled The Transits record came out.
Yeah.
But there was like 6 tracks or 7 tracks or something that weren't released yet on that record.
Exactly.
And that was the fun for me. And that's the fun for people that are fans of this kind of stuff, of the band and stuff. It's like, oh, cool. You know, I like that you release like a certain amount of, like a handful of singles, maybe 3, 4. And then you put out, and you got a chunk of songs that you have that are new. Makes you want to get the record. It definitely works. So no plans so that's good. That's down the line. So we can expect, hopefully, not putting no pressure, but we hopefully can expect new singles per month, which would be awesome. Some of them will have videos, some of them won't. But that's definitely looking forward to that. Ghost of Summer is out right now. That's everywhere. The video's out. You know, you can go check it out everywhere. And I got to thank you for taking your time, man. I have to. Thank you so much, dude.
Hey, the pleasure's mine. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. You know, I've been looking forward to this chat. It's so great to meet you, even though it's on a screen after all these years, and genuinely a fantastic chat with really great questions. Yeah, it's great. It's been awesome.
Follow dreams, fix our lives. The road's a mirror.